Hello, people. Welcome to what you might say a lo-fi episode of No Limits, a PlayStation podcast. Because not only am I melting in the heat, there's not much news to talk about. I'm going to Lulu. We have the Salulu, and we also have a Ghost of Yotei State to play to talk about. Bree, if you would do the honors. Hello, everybody. Yes, I'm back. That was a fever dream, what you just heard. Completely fake. Fictitious. Didn't exist. My name's Sam. I'm joined by my co-host, Breanna. Taylor, bitten by the snake yet again. Back with a vengeance. This time, I think I got him for good riddance. You're listening to No Limits, a PlayStation podcast. Remember, you can find the video version of this podcast over on youtube.com/SaveTheGameMedia every Tuesday. Whilst you're over there on the YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you give us a little bit of love. Type some comments out, as long as they're nice. I make that comment every time. Make that joke every time. My brain is fine, everyone. It's going well. If you'd rather listen to audio, of course, not on YouTube, or maybe on YouTube, you can kind of listen to audio on YouTube. You just don't have to watch the video. Why would you? But if you do rather listen on an audio service, we are, of course, going to be there. And we'd love it if you could leave us a review. 5 stars, please. It helps us to grow. And we'd love any feedback. I'm leaving some dead air, just to build suspense. That's what's happening. If you want to support and get early access to all Save the Game Media content, you can head over to patreon.com/SaveTheGameMedia. Choose a tier that's right for you. And these fine people have done just that. Alpaca Tom, Fabulous Breanna, Brianna's mum, Nicolette Knight, Brenda Myers, Marcus O'Neill, Lillian, David Hotright, Dave Hart, the Xbox Expansion Pass, Lee Navarro, Silkenit, Rick Davis, Todd Oxtra, Brandon, and Sam Hall. Even if you don't sign up to our Patreon, that is perfectly fine. You can interact with us for free in the Discord. The link is in the show notes. Bree, how are you doing this weekend?
It's starting to get real hot in California, but I'm good. I didn't say this before, but I've got super sunburnt. You can't really tell, but I for real roasted myself this week. I went out in the sun for 30 minutes. And I'm just not built to be out in the sun, so
yeah.
How are you?
Relatively drained, just sort of exhausted for various reasons, many of which I will not divulge. But keeping chugging along. I don't do well in heat, and it's the hottest it's been in quite a long time in the UK right now, has been for the past few days. And there's no real reprieve in sight. It's meant to rain tomorrow, but then I think the humidity is meant to remain the same in terms of heat. So I think the rain is actually probably going to make it worse, which is great.
Just steam you in your house.
Yeah.
A dumpling.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm keeping busy. There's a few exciting prospective things on the horizon, which I can't talk about, which I know is annoying. I'd love to share, but I don't want to jump the shark. But there could be some interesting, exciting developments personally in the coming weeks and months. So if there is anything to update, you guys will certainly hear about it at some point in some form. Yeah, but other than that, not really too much to report necessarily. Nothing you need to know anyway, dear listener.
It's okay, listener. I don't either, so that's fine.
What are you? Have you been playing anything, Brie?
That's a really good question, and I'm fairly confident the answer is no. If I did play something, it's something I can't remember. So
excellent. Love to see
yeah,
it.
yeah. I did read books and fan fictions, though. If that helps, I'm almost at my
That doesn't
year
help.
reading goal. I think I'm at like 72 books for the year right now, so
Mhm.
getting close to my 77 books for the year.
Mm.
So
Yeah, I don't even know why this popped into my head, but I felt like it was pertinent to mention it. I picked up. I mean, I'm still waiting on my Outer Wilds. You know, the Design Works book. I'm still waiting on it to be delivered. It's not shipped or anything yet, but I'm just like, I ordered that like a year ago.
forever ago.
But that's how these things work. They take time. Looking forward to it regardless. But I did order. I mean, I got the 1,000 Times Resist vinyl coming soon-ish. But I don't know whether you saw. It was on some social media, and I think I shared it in the Discord. I may not have actually. But they specific site is releasing a vinyl for Astrobot. They're the soundtrack.
Okay,
So I picked
that's
that up,
exciting.
which I think is going to be here very soon in the next couple of days. So it's not the full OST, but it does have most of the main stuff on there. The track list was good enough that I was incentivized to pick it up. So, yeah, you talking about books and stuff, I sort of not even slightly the same as vinyl records, but there you go. Where was I?
You were going to tell us what you were playing.
Oh yeah,
or you were going to ask me questions about the fan fictions I was reading. I can't tell which.
No, I don't know. Certainly not. Well, I can't really say what I've been playing, unfortunately, and I can't even, which breaks my heart, I can't even say that this week I've been playing Death Stranding 2 because I haven't. It's paining me very, very greatly to have to have been away from it for as long as I have, because I was really, really, really deep in the zone with it. And I feel like with responsibilities in terms of work, I don't know when I'm going to be able to get back to it, which is kind of scary because I know that all of my roads and monorails and zip lines are all deteriorating right now as we speak.
They're falling apart as we're speaking.
So when I get back
I can't believe
to
you're
it,
letting them do that.
is all of the infrastructure going to be gone, and that's going to make it that much more difficult to get stuff done and 5-starred, and I'll do it, but
Of
I wish
course
I
you
didn't
will.
have to have taken the break. For work, I'm still having to play a little bit of Roblox, the Grow a Garden thing that I'm covering intermittently. Again, it's the same thing of like, I get why people can get roped into the loop of getting all the plants and planting all the seeds and getting all the crops and all the, I get it, but still not for me. But alas, my play counter on Roblox is unfortunately continuing to tick up. Is there anything else? Oh, I mean, I obviously played through the Astrobot DLC levels that came out.
Oh, I forgot those were coming out. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that came out on the 10th. 5 levels. One of them pretty tough, but I don't think any of them took me more than 5 tries. Which is weird because I see a lot of people saying that the last level that unlocks, not that I'm going to spoil anything, but the last level that unlocks is like the toughest level in the game. I'm like, that not a chance compared to the like grand master bot thing in the base game. No way is this level more tough than that. And I didn't even find that overly difficult. But the little VIP bots that are added, pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good. I think it's relatively transparent at this point what they are, or what at least a couple of them are. Obviously, we knew that Atsu from Ghost of Yotei is one of them. They showed that off when they revealed they were doing these levels. But I'll put it this way, that some glaring third-party emissions that have not been in the game thus far may well be rectified here.
Sora.
Yeah, that is exactly what I'm referencing. It's actually just Gex again. Gex 2, Electric Boogaloo. I will say though, Bree, you one particular bot you're going to be pretty happy with.
Okay.
I'm not going to say what it is because that would ruin the surprise. But
Sam, I lied to you. I remember what I played.
oh, okay.
I restarted Stellar Blade.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to restart it because all of the outfits have alternate color versions of them. And I want to go back because by the time the Nier content had come out, I was too far in the game to go back. So I had to I want to see the Nier content. And I'm trying to platinum the game, and you have to have a new game plus playthrough.
You do.
So the hard mode is
Interesting.
really fun.
Mm-hmm.
So enjoying that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I can't believe I did play something.
Well done. I'm proud.
Thank you.
Makes a change. I assume you'll at some point do the Astro levels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm planning. I have to double check. I'm 99.9% sure that I did not delete the game on purpose because I wanted to get the extra content. The
Same for
only
me.
extra content that I've done so far was the mild spoilers, pausing, Bloodborne one.
Okay.
That was the only one that I've done so far, just because I was really, really excited about that one, obviously. So I have to go back and do the rest of those original added ones, and then like all of like the trials and stuff before I assume I even get to this, but we'll see, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, but you will be particularly happy. Yeah, I immediately thought of you when this one bot showed up. So it will be interesting to see. Again, it's not like that big of a deal because it's you get the bot and you can't really do much with it. You can unlock a special, unique animation for the thing, but
it's still fun.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's I think it for what I played this week.
Okay.
Because I jumped into Helldivers 2 very quickly because they released the I don't know how much you've kept up with it, but
absolutely none.
For a long time they've teased a cape design that is based on the review bombings that they had on Steam.
Oh yeah.
There's just lots of red bars that grow progressively bigger going down. They finally released that, and you sort of have to obviously log in to sort of redeem it and have it added to your inventory. So that's literally all I did. I didn't go back in to play more of it, but they have put out some cool sort of alien like teleportation stuff as well in the latest War Bond, which I may get into, but then I need to get back to Death Stranding 2. That is my priority. So Helldivers 2 will remain permanently installed on my system, but I can't guarantee that I'm going to get back to it in any due amount of time.
Okay.
So Brie, I mean, we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants here. We have no notes, but there isn't really much news to note about. this week.
Can I know we're going to do, like, let's definitely do the state of play. We can cover however much of that you want.
Yes.
For the last little bit, I'm okay with it being a short episode, but for the last little bit, I wonder if we could talk about the show if we haven't talked about that yet. Last of Us 2.
Sure.
Have we talked about that? I don't think so, right? Like in passing, but not like end of season review.
Yeah, no, I don't believe so. So.
And you finished it already, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's do that. Just a little short one.
So one thing I did clock, relevant to whomever it may concern, is that the game catalog update for PlayStation Plus for this month was announced between last episode and this one, and it's a pretty good update. So in addition to the monthly games, which were Diablo 4, Jusant, and a fighting game, King of Fighters, I think. King of Fighters, a number 15, I think, is actually what it was, which is pretty crazy. They announced that this is actually part of the 15th anniversary, actually, of PlayStation Plus, which is maybe why it's a stronger month. Maybe they pushed for a few higher premium titles. So in the extra and premium game catalog this month, you're getting Cyberpunk 2077.
Game nobody's ever heard of.
As one of the day one releases for this year, you're also getting a Biotic Factor, which they did talk about a little while ago in, I think, the prior state of play in February. I think it's like a multiplayer survival-y thing. Not for me. Most definitely for Brie. Gonna become her new favorite game.
I doubt it, but sure.
Banisher's Ghost of New Eden, which Kev waxed lyrical about. I can't say I'm overly convinced. I will probably try it, but all of the sort of reviews called it pretty mid.
Yeah, but why not try it for free? Well,
that is what they say.
Free with a subscription.
That is what they say. It gives me, and this is not more an indictment on what I'm about to reference, it reminds me vibe-wise of like a Plague Tale. It's like sort of that kind of game in my head. I mean, I really like the Plague Tale games. So I'm not expecting this to be anywhere near as good as those. I mean, I know it isn't based on the reviews.
Yeah.
But it sort of occupies that same space in my mind.
That makes sense.
So you got that. You also have Goaty, Bluey the video game.
And you're probably going to platinum it.
No one's going to judge me. I have to get Death Stranding 2's platinum first. Because
How funny would it be if you forgot?
I can't make Bluey the video game my 350th platinum. I can't do that.
That would be really funny. You should do that.
No. But they keep going. You've got Planet Zoo console edition, which is pretty cool. I like the Planet Coaster games. Same as Coaster Tycoon. So this is their latest Zoo Tycoon kind of game. Risk of Rain 2. That's one that I have actually been wanting to try for a couple of years now. Very Returnal coded, from what I gather, in terms of third-person shooter on a sort of hostile alien planet. No, not going to be anywhere near as good as Returnal, though, let's be honest. But I will play it. I think you can play it solo. I hope you can anyway. I know it's a co-op game, but I think you can solo play.
If you need help, you know where to find me.
No.
Hey, I've been basically carrying you these past couple of games we've played.
Sure. Tell yourself whatever you need to hear. We also have Tropico 6. We have New World Eternum, which is strange because isn't that a free-to-play MMO? Unless Eternum is like a changed premium version as a separate release. That must be what it is. Unless the MMO wasn't available on console before.
I don't know.
But if it was now available on console, why would it be included in Plus if it was free? I don't know.
I don't know.
Somebody does.
Or don't.
I mean, we're not going to play it either way. And then the 2 premium games added this month are Twisted Metal 3 and 4.
You gonna play those?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I played Twisted Metal 1 and 2 and got the platinums for those when they were added.
How are those games?
I mean, obviously very old and very jank and very basic, but there is no denying that driving around in a car that has guns on it and shooting other cars as they whiz around is inherently pretty fun. So yeah, cool to see Twisted Metal continuing to get a bit of recognition. Obviously strange that they are pushing the IP when they killed the new game that was being made. But these are obviously added into the service this month because at the end of this month, on my birthday, season 2 of Twisted Metal is releasing on Peacock. So if you're interested in that, you can check that out. Get a little bit of that Anthony Mackie playing John Doe. I haven't seen it either. Apparently, it was better than it had any right to be. But that
I
still
was
doesn't
gonna
mean
say
I'm
I've
watch
heard
it.
good things.
So that's a pretty decent month. I think pretty eclectic. Covers a lot of different genres, different tastes. A bit of something for everyone. So an above average month, certainly, for PlayStation Plus. And you mentioned it, Brie. The only other thing that we really have this week of consequence is the Ghost of Yotei State of Play that happened. So you didn't watch it, right?
I did not, no.
No, but you sort of have by osmosis understood some of the things that were discussed there.
Yes, I do understand some of the stuff. I just didn't, I don't know, like, I don't want to see anything from the game. Like, I don't mind, like, hearing about the game. I just don't want to, like, visually see it because I just want to, like, experience. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah.
So.
Well, unfortunately, you should have seen it because it looks atrocious. According
That's what
to
I
everybody
hear.
online. Yeah. According to everyone online,
you know, honestly,
looks like.
I think Ghost of Tsushima probably is going to win the award for worst looking game ever. That's what I've heard.
That's what is being tossed around, you know, which is ironic considering that was the sentiment prior to Tsushima coming out, and then it came out and everybody that actually had a valid good faith opinion were like, oh no, this is stunning. Yeah, very strange that people are framing this in any way as, you know, DLC for Tsushima. It's like, can you form a coherent sentence, please? What's your IQ? I bet it's single digits, but that's okay.
I don't know mine. That helps.
You're certainly not single digits, I'm sure. Low double digits.
Do you actually know your score? Your IQ score?
No,
I know we're getting off topic. Okay, I'm just curious. Okay.
But yes, so the State of Play happened. It was about a 20-minute gameplay presentation hosted by Nate Fox and Jason Cannell, who are the creative directors of the game, same creative directors as Ghost of Tsushima. And yeah, it was very similar to the Tsushima presentation back in the day. If people remember that, I certainly do, because I'm a weirdo. But it, delved into the world. It delved into Atsu and her character a little bit more. Obviously, showed off a lot of gameplay mechanics, how a bit of exploration works, how they have updated combat and progression. Showed a little bit of the sort of cosmetics and armor settings, and then delved into some of the special modes. So it's almost structure-wise, as a state of play, identical to the Tsushima one. So, yeah, we don't really have to become super granular here, especially if people listening want to preserve some level of spoilers. But they spoke about Atsu becoming the Onryo, which has previously been discussed. Onryo being a vengeful ghost in Japanese myth. They detailed how that is the case, why she is vengeful, and they detailed that this will be mild spoilers, I guess. They detailed a mechanic in the game. We don't know the extent of the mechanic, but a mechanic that allows you to switch between time periods, shall we say, in Atsu's life. How freeform that is, whether that is
could be
specific
guided
to certain story segments or specific locations on the map. I imagine that's the case. We don't have clarification on that, but certainly very interesting, very sort of Ratchet and Clank / Spider-Man Portal Tech-esque stuff, where the world transitions from one state to the other very quickly at the push of a button, which is cool.
Yeah.
They showed that Atsu will be able to take on bounties in the world. They also insinuated that Atsu can get a bounty on her own head. So you might maybe encounter either unique NPCs or roaming enemies that come to hunt down Atsu as she explored. That's pure conjecture. It wasn't discussed. But I would assume that from what they were discussing, you could insinuate that maybe because you can take on bounties, there may be active bounties on you that you need to fend off. And each of the bounties that you could take on, they are with unique NPCs that have interesting combat mechanics or are set up in a very specific, picturesque setting. And I think, or at least from what they discussed and showed off, it's primarily just like a financial thing. I don't know if you are going to be getting unique cosmetics or anything. You would assume that's the kind of thing that you would get cosmetics from, but they didn't frame it that way. So I guess nice to have the ambiguity, because then we get to find out for ourselves. They showed that Atsu can find altars of reflection in the open world, which grant her access to specific abilities. Think of like the sort of prayer shrines in the first game. Practically identical, it seems, but they are retrofitted. Instead of giving you materials, I think that it was in Tsushima, and maybe like some charms, these specific altars of reflection actively give you abilities. Now, whether they add to existing skill trees or they unlock access to specific skill trees, again, we don't know. But interesting little switch up there, I thought. They showed that Atsu now has access, unlike Jin, to a number of different weapon types. She has the longbow and the heavy bow, same as Jin did, but she also has a rifle for ranged combat.
No, thank you.
Which you would assume is going to be relatively limited in terms of ammunition. And obviously inherently has the downside of you might be able to take out a heavier, bigger enemy in one shot or deal a significant amount of damage, but the gunshot will draw the attention of everyone.
Yeah.
So that's the trade-off, as you would expect. You have the katana, typically, as you might expect, but you also have access to a spear, a kusarigama, which is the sort of blade on the end of a chain that you can throw. You have the odachi blade, which is a very long sword. And then you have dual swords, which are sort of short swords that you wield at the same time and can do some flashy attack animations with. These aren't just for show, though. They each have specific uses and are particularly effective against specific enemy types. Again, they did discuss what weapons are best against which kind of enemies for a few of those types. I won't give that away because that could be something that would be interesting to uncover for you if you are going in relatively blind. But she's got a lot at her disposal. The reason that they say that is because, unlike Jin, she doesn't really have a moral code that she is adhering to or trying to adhere to. She is just actively going to use any and every tool at her disposal. Doesn't really matter. There's no honor for her. Which, in all fairness, is kind of how Ghost of Tsushima ended up anyway. Because you could manually adhere to honor and go into each and every encounter as a samurai and do the standoffs. But realistically, by the end of the game, you were just, blowing up barrels and, stealth assassinating people and throwing bombs and kunai and all of this stuff. So I think that's more of like a headcanon thing than anything, if I'm being perfectly honest. But that is one of the justifications that they gave for why she has all of this different weaponry. They did show some open world stuff. I won't talk about that because I think that exploring the world and everything is the main thing in the Ghost of games, clearly. But they said that you can obviously, in some fashion, have that wolf as part of your roster that you assemble throughout the game, or the NPCs that you meet. The wolf is one of them, and the wolf may be mechanically able, shall we say, which is exciting. You are also able to set up a camp at any place in the open world.
That's cool.
That allows you to rest up. You can play music there. You can cook food there. And it's not quite clear how this works, but allies that presumably you've already met will be able to automatically come to a camp that you set up whilst you're there and present you with anything that is relevant. So let's say a merchant that specializes in bows that you've met earlier on in the story, a new thing might have unlocked in their stock, or a new upgrade might have become available from a swordsman that you've met. Those people can appear at your camp if and when those kind of things become available for you. A new interaction becomes available. And the justification that they gave for this, however minor it might appear, they said that they didn't want players to have to break up their exploration by having to backtrack and go to specific hub areas or something just to get, to tick off the next thing that they can buy or the next upgrade they can make. They said they wanted it to sort of happen a bit more freeform and naturally, where it isn't going to disturb where you are in the world. You might get a notification that something becomes available, but that doesn't mean you have to suddenly fast travel back to X point on the other side of the map. You can actually just set up a camp exactly where you are and interact with the NPC there, which sort of removes some of the open world gripes that you might otherwise interact with. How fleshed out that is, I will be interested to see. I don't know whether you can maybe pick up new quests from these people. I don't know if that is something that's also viable. I would assume so, but they did only highlight merchants and upgrades. But you would have thought, you might be able to pick up even if it's just like a rumor of, oh, there's this thing happening at this location, and they put a question mark on the map for you, that kind of thing. Only a few more things here. They showed that there is a new clue system in the game, which cool. is pretty self-explanatory, especially if you played a game that has this kind of mechanical structure to it. But as you are exploring or completing objectives or clearing enemy camps, you might pick up on a piece of evidence, or you might overhear something that gives you a little tip off of something happening or a thing that you can go and explore or do. And these are added as cards that it seems you can interact with on the map screen and highlight which one of the things you want to interact with. And it will then automatically set waypoints that, the wind will then guide you towards. But they did also say that whether it's every enemy or specific enemies, not sure, but you can actually, presumably under very specific circumstances in combat, maybe like the last man standing, you can optionally choose to interrogate an enemy. And that enemy will be able to divulge specific information to you. But you have to make a choice about what information you gain from them. That will then dictate, obviously, what information you receive, and therefore what activities or areas of the map you will be guided towards. So I won't divulge, but the story revolves around a gang called the Yotei 6. And the example they provided is you take down an enemy, but before you kill them, you can interrogate them, and you can ask about one member of the Yotei 6 or a different member of the Yotei 6. And picking either of those will direct you to a different point of the map where you will encounter different kinds of enemies and will therefore have different kinds of upgrades, abilities, tools made available to you. And they've said that before about wanting to have the open world and narrative both be freeform in their exploration, where you can explore anywhere you want in the open world, see something in the distance, go explore it. But they also wanted the narrative, presumably to an extent, be tackleable in any order that you choose. And that is sort of emblematic of that, where you can choose to follow the leads, shall we say, of one specific member of the gang through to the end. Or you can sort of divvy up and go back and forth. And The only other sort of main thing outside of lots of, just general gameplay that they showed is the special modes that are being included. Of course, photo mode returns exactly the same as it was in Tsushima. We are also seeing the return of Kurosawa mode, which is the black and white film grain audio filter enhanced wind mode that was present in Tsushima. I don't know about you, Brie. I only ever played with that in very short bursts.
I haven't even tried it.
Because, it's super sick, but like the inherent problem is that the beauty of Tsushima is the colors in the world. So sort of stripping that and just going for a black and white mode. It's also, I guess, thinking about it, whether I can do it in the time that I'm allowed, I don't know. But in all fairness, Tsushima isn't really a game that I've gone back to necessarily all that much. Like I went back for Iki Island when that came out, played a bit of Legends as well. But I've never really, I don't think I've actually done like a replay, like a full replay of the game. So maybe now that I've experienced it, maybe I will do like a Kurosawa playthrough and have it like in Japanese, with now that the lip sync is added to Tsushima, and just go fully for it, because I've already experienced the world. Like I know.
Yeah. Maybe just like a mainline story run.
Yeah, exactly.
That does sound really fun.
100%. But they've in Yotei, Brie, you probably heard about these.
They did.
But they have added 2 additional modes, again, both based on honoring legendary samurai genre directors. So the first is Miike mode, which is based on the work of Takashi Miike, who directed 13 Assassins. And what this mode does is, seemingly specifically for combat, it moves the camera in a lot closer. So you're almost directly behind Atsu in the same way that you would Kratos or Ellie, in those games. And they have upped the amount of not only mud, but also blood. So I haven't seen 13 Assassins. I'm vaguely familiar with Miike. But it is sort of the sort of hyper violence, very action oriented. So it'll be interesting to see, because I could see myself leaning into that mode specifically, especially if it is only pertaining to combat. If it's driving the camera behind you the entire time, no, because you kind of want those panoramic vista shots whilst you're playing. But if it only brings it in for combat, I could see myself rocking that for my playthrough. But yeah, that is a relatively, I mean this with no ill intent, a relatively sort of generic mode comparative to Kurosawa. Because it is just pulling the camera in slightly and upping the mud and blood, which is relatively superficial, but can be very good for photo mode, I imagine, especially. But this is the one that really got people excited, Brie.
Yeah, it did.
Some people sort of laughed it off and thought it was a bit stupid, but if you know, you know. And
Sam, do you know?
Vaguely. I do.
Vaguely. Okay.
I can't say I'm fully versed.
Okay.
But I've seen me my Cowboy Bebop. And I have seen a couple of episodes of Samurai Champloo. So But yes, the second additional mode is Watanabe mode, based on what I just said, Samurai Champloo and Cowboy Bebop director Shinichiro Watanabe. Now, this isn't a camera mode. It doesn't really change the gameplay in any meaningful way. There's no filters.
It's going to change the game experience, though, I'll tell you what.
Precisely, because Watanabe mode will feature original, composed by Watanabe himself, original lo-fi beats that will be playing whilst it said both exploration and combat. I'll be interested to see exactly what that means.
I'm very much looking forward to this.
Sounds relatively self-explanatory, but I'll be interested to see what lo-fi is like during combat.
If you hold on, let me find this guy really quick. But while I'm looking for this, I think that obviously we both really enjoy music and listening to it. So I am really looking forward to this. That's not to say that like regular soundtrack music isn't good, because obviously it is. But I just think that this is going to be really, really fun.
Yeah. I think it will depend on how the actual OST is implemented, but I could very much see myself toggling this mode on just whilst I'm just randomly exploring, you know.
Okay.
Where I'm not actively going to do a main story anything. If I'm just gallivanting off and checking out some side stuff and just seeing what I find, I could see myself having this mode on for that.
Okay. I will, for anybody that is like wanting to get like a taste of what it might be like, or this is what I assume it's going to be similar to. There is a creator called Elijah Nang. I don't know how to say his last name, but it's Nang. He has these albums. So he's a lo-fi artist. He has these albums called Lost in Japan. And he also has albums called Gaijin, which means foreigner. So I would actually recommend listening to the first album, Gaijin. Just like press play, don't shuffle, just play through it, because he like kind of tells the story of like a samurai, like, and like learning how to make a blade and stuff like that. It's a really, really cool album, but it's like all lo-fi with like really heavy Japanese influences. That's what I'm assuming when I heard this, is that it will kind of be something similar to that, maybe with like a little bit more flair that like Samurai Champloo has. So I'm happy with whatever music they give me, but that's my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, they did, for context, they did play a bit of the lo-fi stuff during the state of play over this segment. But it was primarily, if not exclusively, footage of Atsu just sort of walking and riding around. There wasn't any combat covered here. And it is very chill, you know, the beat that was playing with lots of cinematic, scenic shots. But yeah, it'll be interesting because in my head, lo-fi and like frantic fighting, like you would see in this game and Tsushima, don't quite gel. But I can't say that I'm overly versed in the breadth of lo-fi, so we shall see.
Yeah, I think that it might, I mean, there's always a chance that like they're not going to change it for combat. It could just be like just music playing, and when you go into combat, like the music doesn't really change. It's just like a whatever's playing is playing. I don't know how disappointed I would be. Like, because I imagine that mode is more just for like chilling. You know, I don't know how much, like, I don't know if they're expecting people to play the entire game in that mode, if that makes sense. Versus just like you're wandering around. But that said, if they do have like something that's like combat specific that like kind of kicks in, that would be really cool.
Mm.
So
Yeah, and not that it like you could construe this as sort of conspiracy and just speculation, but this was like one of the last things that they showed in the state of play. So it was kind of like a mic drop thing. What's mode was the last mode that they talked about. And it got not by much, but it did have technically the biggest segment of the 3 modes. And we're talking like the other 2 modes were maybe like 15, 20 seconds, and Watanabe mode was maybe like 40 seconds. But still, like, I think that, and based on the general overall response I've seen to the state of play, Watanabe mode is like the runaway big thing. So I think that they kind of know that it's going to be a big deal. So I would imagine that, you know, they are original. They said that Watanabe has composed them for this game. And if they specify that it's going to happen in combat, I would assume that they maybe not specifically dynamically changes as soon as you enter combat, but there would be a track that play with combat in mind. That would be my assumption. So yeah, I think I also assume like this is where like the experimentation and just sort of finding out might be interesting. You would assume that when you do enter like a big main story beat or an important location or point where a track of the OST is meant to play, that would override this, you would assume.
Maybe. They like cut it off randomly.
Because that would be the thing that would dissuade me from having this on, is if it did somehow interfere with the story presentation and the music accompanying said story. If turning this on acted as an override for the intended experience, I think that might disincentivize me from activating.
There's like
it
a character crying and the lo-fi's playing.
Yeah, that would be a bit weird. So like I say, I think I would, assuming these are just toggleable, which I think they are. I'm pretty sure Kurosawa mode was toggleable, but I would probably only have this on if I knew that I was just going off for a wander for a while and seeing what I found. And as soon as I knew that I was aiming back in the direction of a main story thing, I would probably turn it back off.
Yeah.
But that's okay, because again, that, like you say, that kind of feels like what it's mainly in for. And I think that like post story, if you're going to do cleanup and go for 100%, this is the kind of thing that you could then have on all the time. You know, as you're just sort of ticking things off and finishing stuff up. Yeah, the only other thing worth pointing out for those that care, which I don't know that my first playthrough is going to happen this way, but this wasn't something that was actively available at launch for Tsushima. You can play through subtitled with Japanese voiceover. That was available at launch for Tsushima, but it is at launch in Yotei fully lip synced in Japanese.
I probably
should you
will do
choose
it in
that.
Japanese then.
Which was patched in after launch for Tsushima, because that was very distracting when I tried it, where it was still lip synced to the English.
Yeah, it really was.
But they showed not a full cutscene, but a portion of a cutscene in lip synced Japanese, and it looks very, very good. So that's great for those that care about that. I would assume, again, also something you can just toggle on and off should you wish to. Yeah, and that's it for the game, really. The only other thing that they showed is that there is a special edition version of the console, both Slim and Pro. Unfortunately, the OG model is not supported for the console covers. And there is also a DualSense coming out for the game, both of which have the what's the
Kitsungi.
yes, that's it. It is the well, I mean, technically there is a version that is the gold patterning covering in the cracks to mend damaged things, as is that art style. But there is also a black and white version
Yeah,
in sort
which
of
would
ink
not
styling
use
that
it.
you see.
Yeah.
So you can get those. You can obviously pick up the console as it stands, or you can, if you don't have, if you do have a PS5 already, you can just get the console covers separately, same as a DualSense, so you don't have to splash out on a full new console to get it.
I will say, if I had if I just had money, which I don't, but if I just like had money,
Yeah.
I think that for this game specifically, I would really love to, one, get a Pro, and two, get a new TV. My TV's pretty old at this point. I think it's like almost 9 years old. So like the Pro feels like a little wasteful if I don't also have like a newer TV,
Sure.
I'm sure
I
it's
mean,
not totally wasteful, but so
yeah, can the TV do 4K?
yes.
Okay, well that's okay then.
Yeah, I mean it was a brand new TV at the time. It's like a really great TV.
Yeah.
I still love it. It's just I do recognize that the TV is getting a little old.
Sure.
So,
but like 4K is the main thing, I would say.
yeah.
Like as long as it can do that, that's fine. The whole HDR and VRR and everything, that would be obviously even better. But as long as you can get the actual image, I think that's the main takeaway. So
Fair enough.
but yeah, like I said it in the Discord, and I said it to you privately. I will be getting the covers at the very least. He may well pick up the DualSense as well, but I've got a lot of DualSenses, which I don't use because I'm too scared to damage them or dirty them up or whatever. So, do I need another one?
Yes.
Okay, sold.
Did I tell you when my controllers broke? I can't remember if I told you guys that.
I don't remember hearing it.
Yeah, my original PlayStation 5 controller has just decided that it's actually just done. So that was kind of a bummer. But I've been playing with the Spider-Man one recently, so
yeah, I've got the Spider-Man one tucked away. I still haven't used the 30th anniversary one. That's still in the box. I should probably find a way to put that on play somehow, but oh well.
Oh well.
Oh well.
Oh well.
Yeah, but Ghost of Yotei is there. Comes out, of course, October 2nd. Can't wait. I've proclaimed it before. I have the collector's edition pre-ordered. I'm good though. Can't wait. Gonna have that mask.
I do think that mask is really cool. I was thinking about it, but I was like, I'm trying to be smart with my money because I have 2 big trips coming up. So
yeah, I should probably learn that as well. But hey, what can you do?
you live close to the cool big trip places.
That means precisely nothing in terms of saving money.
Yeah, it does, because flights are crazy. See, you could just drive there. You could just train there.
I could. Yeah, but that's sort of the big news, really. So Sucker Punch have cooked yet again, as we expected they probably would have. It feels, I will say, to not give credit to disingenuous people. To preface, I feel like the game coming out this year feels right because, again, it's been 5 years. just a little over 5 years, because Ghost of Tsushima came out in July of 2020, I want to say. So by the time Yotei comes out, it will have been in about 5 years, which for modern dev cycles is about right? But it does feel like it's been a lot longer, which I think is where some people have gripes, even if they are missed and are only like a mental thing rather than actual. Because it came out close to the launch of PS5, you know, but before the launch of PS5. So it's like Sucker Punch and Naughty Dog, for that matter, with Part 2, popped off with like bangers that ended the generation. But then subsequently, when people are thinking about this current generation, it therefore means that they feel like they've been absent for far longer because they haven't actually shipped anything new on this console generation. So I think that that's where like the disconnect is happening in people's heads, where they're like, oh, it took them this long to make a sequel to Tsushima that looks a lot like Tsushima in a lot of ways. It's like, well, 5 years is a long time for any game, but that is how long games take to develop. That's not endorsing it, but
I really feel like yeah, that's like a long time. But at the same time, I just feel like I don't think people realize how hard it is to make games sometimes, you know? Like I feel like people just forget and they're just like, where's my game? I want my game kind of thing.
yeah.
But they're hard to
Yeah.
make.
And not just that, right? But I think that people look at this and they're like, oh, it's a sequel to Ghost of Tsushima, which in essence it is. Like a spiritual successor, I would say, is probably correct, right? Because it's not actually following on Ghost of Tsushima. It's a new character and everything, new story. But I think people aren't taking into account the fact that it's not Tsushima. And I don't just mean the game. I mean it.
Yeah.
You're not on Tsushima. You're not on Tsushima Island anymore. This is a fully brand new world built. So they aren't like rehashing Tsushima in the same way that Spider-Man 2 reused most of New York from the original game. It's like, no, you're getting a brand new environment to explore, which again further justifies, not that it needs justifying, but justifies that dev cycle. Where if it was just Tsushima Island again, I imagine we probably would have had this game probably last year.
Probably.
But like it's one of those things where I shouldn't even mention it, because it is people who are either acting disingenuously or are ignorant to the realities of game development. But at the same time, on the flip side, I do want to acknowledge that and sort of point out to people that there are reasons that you might not even consciously acknowledge that lean into the reason that, one, the game took 5 years to come out, but also that you feel like it's been longer than that.
Yeah.
So,
well, the thing is like they've also been in development for this probably longer than that, right? Like, you know what I mean? Because of like the way that games overlap as they come out and stuff like that, like the pre-development portion of it.
yeah, well, it will be interesting to see, like, if we do ever hear, probably in post-launch, interviews and when they get directors on and stuff, to hear about what pre-production looked like here, how much of it was formulated as Tsushima was wrapping up, or was it a thing where they had lots of ideas, one of which was probably to have just a Tsushima 2, which continued Jin's story. At what point did they settle on the idea of no, we're going to have a clean break, new map, new character, new story, new time period, 300 years after the events of Tsushima? when did that happen, and then that will inherently inform a lot of our understanding of the dev cycle as well. So, but yes, Yotei looks fantastic. Not that I had any doubt that it wouldn't, but it looks like it is going to absolutely be worth the wait, and not that much longer to go now, really, in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
We're halfway through July, and then we just have September, and we're there. August and September, sorry, and then we're there. So we got.
Isn't it so crazy that it's spooky season already? I love it.
No, it's not quite. No.
No, after 4th of July is over, it's technically Halloween. That's how it works.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
So.
Nope. I refuse. You want to talk about
you've...
Last of Us, Brie?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we talked a lot about of Yotei. I almost said Tsushima, Yotei. So if you want to call it here, we don't have to talk about it. I know you.
No. You can't bait the listeners.
Okay, well, I will say full spoilers, you guys. I'm really sorry, but like I'm just gonna say spoilers. So love you, bye. I love Pedro Pascal. That like just is. I feel like I had a lot of stuff spoiled for me by watching this show. And I think that that's kind of a little bit of a bummer. That they decided to format it. No. I know it's on me, but I mean, what I specifically mean is because they changed the way that the story is told.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's why it was so spoilery.
Okay.
It is 100% my fault. I'm not like, does that make sense? Like I'm saying, like, I wish that they had formatted it the same way as the video game.
Yeah.
Organizationally. And then I don't think I would have had any problems.
Yeah. I mean, to rip the Band-Aid off, I think that is not only the gripe that most, not most, I should say, a lot of people have with season 2. I think it's the reason that I don't like it as a season. And inherently, I was going to have some level of problem with it, in the same way that I had some problems with season 1. But far less egregious and severe than the issues I have here. And full transparency, as I've said many times at this point, I am a staunch defender of part 2. Its story, its structure, its characters, and I think it's the not knowing why they made the changes that is the worst part.
Well, I think also when you can have the conjunction of not knowing why they made those changes, as well as we now have extra information that Neil is no longer going to be involved.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like those two things, maybe they don't have anything to do with each other, but it feels like they might.
Yeah, it is interesting. Because I can't remember who was on, whether it was with you or Taylor when we talked about it, of Neil going back to Naughty Dog to focus and not doing the show anymore.
It was Taylor for sure.
Yeah, but like we both agreed that is the right move. Like,
yes,
as much as Neil loves doing shows, I'm sure, and it was a wild ride and a highlight of his career, as he said, like him going back to Naughty Dog and focusing on the games is nothing but a good thing. It is absolutely what we want them to do. But you can argue it is very conspicuous timing. And and the fact that both him and Craig Mazin have been far quieter than they were before this season came out
Yes.
in terms of talking about it and their excitement, and they haven't really talked about reactions. So maybe, but yeah, it's a.
I think that Neil is good where he's at. I don't want to. I want to be very clear. I think that the changes feel like they had to have originated from Craig's direction, right? Because why would Neil want to make so many changes like that to his own story?
I don't know.
So it has to have come from like Craig's direction. So I think the question is more, and this is like obviously none of this, like at the end of the day, it's already happened. Season 2's done. It didn't do as well as season 1. It's done. However, I do just because I'm nosy and I'm curious. I have to wonder, like, is this something where Craig suggested changes, Neil went along with it, or is it something that Craig strong-armed the changes and utilizing his position as like the director of the show was like, no, I think that this is better, and maybe like that's part of it. I don't know.
I don't even know if it's as binary as that in terms of the possibilities, because I think two
Oh,
other
yeah, for sure.
possibilities are that both Neil and Craig considered comparatively the complexity of part 2 compared to part 1, narratively speaking, and also with a preconceived notion that season 2 wouldn't be the complete story and that it would be from the jump split across multiple seasons. That might have influenced some of their choices. I also think that the fact that part 2 being split up across multiple seasons, because that was the idea from the jump, to maximize the IP and the deal with HBO and, give them a show for longer. I think that does inherently mean, unless they filmed the seasons back to back, which they didn't, it meant that there was going to be a relatively big gap between season 2 and season 3. And even if, to their credit, even if you adhered to the exact structure of the game for season 2 and ended at the same cutoff point, which I think is the only real cutoff point you can do, it would kind of still land them in approximately the same position that they're in now. Because, spoilers, season 3 is going to be Abby's side of things. As is the latter or a latter part of the game. And having a year or more of a gap between that cliffhanger and the beginning of the resolution isn't inherently an issue. So I think that maybe that informs some of the structural changes that they made, which I disagree with, to be clear. Also, and this is the part that really scares me, sounds like hyperbolic, but I look at TV inherently being a different medium to gaming.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And it having to be serialized weekly. And this is where I don't know that I can believe this because season 1 wasn't like this. But because part 1 and part 2 are so fundamentally different games, it doesn't surprise me that season 1 and season 2 are fundamentally so different. But the way in which they structured season 2 makes me question the idea of whether Craig and Neil had the faith to place in the viewers
Yeah.
to follow along in the same way that Neil and Naughty Dog place faith in players to follow along in the game as it was originally structured. And of course, that break that I talked about between seasons, only expedites that issue of having faith, because you would need to have faith in your viewers to not completely lose interest or lose their minds in waiting for the second half of that story. So I struggle to believe that they didn't have faith in people, but also you're presenting as the game presents it, an inherently very complex story with a lot of overlapping parts, a lot of time jumps. Maybe they did want to dumb it down for general audiences as much as possible. The one idea I don't buy into is the idea that, and I've seen some people mention this, that Neil wanted to try and like rectify the controversial elements of part 2. It's like,
no,
because at every opportunity he's ever had, he has stood by he's
done whatever he wanted
and the team's creative decisions. So
yeah, absolutely.
I don't think he inherently would kowtow to any kind of criticism or desire to, you can finally make it good, that kind of ideology. I don't think that's in play at all. So it's a mess, just in every way. Like behind the scenes, I think it's a mess trying to make this story work across multiple seasons, which inherently to me was a bad idea. I get like where the idea came from and why they would feel incentivized to do that business wise, but it just creates so many problems. And I think the reason that people think that Neil was trying to rectify things is because the way in which some of the scenes of the game not only are put far earlier in the story than they are presented in the game, the way in which those scenes are depicted and the things that they have the characters say in those scenes feel so on the nose that a lot of the subtlety is lost in those scenes, which lessens the impact. Let alone the fact that the impact is meant to be enhanced by the fact that it comes that much later in the story. Like, Brie, do you mind if I spoil where a scene happens in the game?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
So
I guarantee I already know it because I've seen so much TikToks
sure
about it.
The scene of Joel and Ellie on the porch, where they sort of confront one another, but Joel says, if I had a chance to do it over, I'd do it all over again. And Ellie's like, I don't know if I can ever forgive you for that, but I'd like to try. And, Joel gets like choked up and they sort of split off and like with the understanding that they're going to give it a go, to sort of make amends. That's literally, outside of Ellie walking away from the farmhouse, the last thing that you see in the game.
Yeah, I did know that one.
So like the point in the game, which again, some people don't seem to get, the point of that happening so late in the game is that you're going through the entire game feeling awful and angry because you feel like, based on the dance scene, where Ellie and Joel sort of confront one another and tell each other to F off and all of this, you're like, that was their last interaction. Joel died and they were on bad terms, and that is like so gut-wrenching. But then you have the absolvement of that right at the end, where you realize, thank God, they weren't in the optimal situation between the two of them, far from it. But when Joel died, they were actually on the right path, and they had sort of both mutually decided that they were going to try and be, family again.
Yeah.
And that is so powerful as like the final note on the story. And the fact that they sort of just nonchalantly chuck it into the mix here and front load it. It's like, I don't know what emotional thing you're going to have at the end of the story where this scene was meant to happen. In the same way that when me and you talked about this prior, like, I don't understand. Like, I get it if you're trying to preface information for a general audience who you don't have faith in will understand or follow along.
Yeah.
I have no idea why they put Abby's motivations front and center straight away. I don't get it. Because you don't find that out where the show ended at season 2, when it cuts to Abby's perspective in the game, which is what happens right after that standoff and the gunshot. That's when you find out who Abby's dad is.
I did know that part too.
So you
messy.
Why would you? Because what reveal do you have now for Abby? Like, we're gonna see her with her dad. Nice. But you don't have the reveal moment of you going, oh my God, he was the doctor, which you do have in the game. The silver lining, Brie, that I will end my tirade on, is that the show has just made me appreciate the game that much more.
Yeah.
Like, I already loved the game. I already loved the story. But the way that, honestly, and it sounds harsh, the way that the show is kind of butchering the story just makes me so much more appreciative that we still have the game. And
Yeah.
I can only hope that people who haven't played the game, who are like immersing themselves in The Last of Us through the show, go to play the game and have that same kind of epiphany of like, oh no, the game like paces it out so much better.
Yeah.
And I only hope that the weird pacing of the show doesn't make people appreciate the game less, because they already know what happens, because the show's already told you so much. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I honestly, what I find like kind of funny about it is like, I wonder how many people that hated the game. I mean, I guess if they truly hated the game, they probably aren't watching the show. But I wonder how much it's like, oh, I really didn't like the second game. And then they watched the second show and then they went, wait a minute, that was way better. You know?
I don't think I've seen one instance of that happening.
That would make me so happy if that really happened. I think that's silly, but like silly fun. But, you know.
And not that like I'm actively seeking out takes.
Seeking out haters.
But I don't think I've seen any instance of people being like, yeah, the game wasn't for me, but the show is hitting, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that like that's a bad thing as well. Because whether that was the intent of the show or not, to win over people that didn't like the game, which obviously that isn't the intent of the show. But even if that was baked into the show some way, you're clearly failing to do that as well. Like, inherently people argue that adaptations of games or of any source material, the adaptations are almost always inferior to the source material. But like, the chasm of quality here, in my opinion, is like so immeasurably vast that it's, I think, in a scary way, it might actually, to some degree, damage the IP.
I agree with that. I don't think it's going to be like I don't think it's going to be franchise ending by any means. I don't think it will affect whether or not there's going to be a third game or not, like anything like that. But I do definitely think it's going to damage the franchise a little bit.
Yeah, like just the general sentiment around it and like the general public's opinion. They're like, yeah, well, the first season was great, and I went and played the first game after the show, and that was good as well. But like the second season just really wasn't it. And I therefore don't have any interest in going to play the second game.
Yeah.
And then they announce the third game and they're like, well, maybe, but it's not like I absolutely have to, because the first two seasons of the show were fire.
Yeah. What a bummer.
Yeah, very peculiar. I'll be interested. I will be, of course, I'm sure we'll both be watching season 3 whenever it does come out, but I don't have much faith in it, to be honest.
Yeah, me neither.
I'd love to be proven wrong. Like, I love most of the casting in the show, but I just think how they're handling the story is a bit rough.
I will say it does really freak me out how much the actor looks like the character Jesse.
Yeah.
It does like really, really, really freak me out sometimes, where I'm like, it literally just looks like the same person sometimes.
And it's even more spooky because like that would be fine if it was the person that they like mocapped and facial captured, but it's not.
It's not.
So yeah, very very well cast. As is most of the show, like I say.
I feel like that, like in the audition process, that probably would have, like, if I was the one that was like casting,
just like, oh god,
like,
if I was somebody in the audition room sat next to him, I'd just be like, Jesus Christ. Well, there you go. Yeah.
Well, there's the person playing him.
I wonder who's going to get the role.
Well, okay. Well, I'm glad that we got to at least talk about it a little bit. I know we
also,
didn't want to like fully talk about it.
Tangentially, they did just release an update for
the chronological mode.
Yeah, Part 2 remastered, which
are you gonna do it?
I think I will do, more out of curiosity than anything. I know that sounds a bit antithetical to the idea of what the show is doing to the story, but the show isn't even doing it chronologically.
Yeah.
So I think that for me to find out how actually like fully chronologically ordered the game would be is interesting to me. I'm not going to like it as much.
Yeah.
But if you think about the fact
to hear your thoughts,
that would mean, logically that The Last of Us Part 2 is going to start with a whole lot of Joel and Ellie. Because it's going to be all of the flashbacks.
I didn't think about that part. Yeah.
And you would assume it will then go to all of Abby's flashbacks to when she was younger.
And then
I didn't
think about that either.
And then it will go to the beginning of the game with Joel going back to Jackson and Abby and her group showing up at Jackson. So it will like fundamentally change, as you would expect, the pacing, but like not just in, oh, well, this scene happens here instead of here. It's like, no. Like the opening hours of the game are going to be, which inherently means, by the way, that porch scene is again going to be happening very early.
Yeah.
But who knows? I think inherently like playing the game as well, right, is going to be a different experience than just passively watching a show.
Yeah.
Because you're actively engaging with it and doing things, which does change the pacing in and of itself. So
it also changes like how you consume it.
Exactly. Yeah, precisely my point. So
yeah.
predisposed to like that version of the story more than just passively watching.
For sure.
So
okay. Well, let's take us out. Take us out, Sam.
that sounds weirdly sinister.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping.
Okay, well, thank you so much for listening, everybody. You can find us on YouTube again at Save the Game Media, and you can check out our Discord. All the links are in the description. Please come and chill out with us.
Mm-hmm.
We're a pretty nice bunch, I'd like to say.
Some of us.
Where can people...
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Where can people find you, Brie?
You can find me at Fabulous Breanna, FABULIST BREANNA.
And people can find me anywhere and everywhere at Sam Heaney, HEANEY. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. We said this was going to be a shorter episode, but here you go. We like rambling over here.
Mm-hmm.
There's some interesting stuff coming up for Save the Game Media in the coming weeks and months. We'll share more about shortly. That when we're ready. We will talk more about that, but hopefully it shouldn't disrupt content too much on the whole.
No,
but
it'll be like a rocky, and then you get to the sandy beach, you know, like you got to get on the rocks for a little bit, and then you get to the sand, and then you get to the water, you know.
There will be, I would assume, based on where things are currently, maybe a week or two of adjustment where there might be a slight dip, but I don't think it's going to be any more than that.
No, should be good.
I've said that now, and it's going to end up being like 3 months of nothing. But that's not going to happen. Don't panic.
Sam needs to yap too much for that to happen.
Clearly, I need to vent. Where else am I going to talk about absolutely nothing? Yeah, but until next time, everybody, thank you for listening. Have a great day wherever you are. Look after yourselves, and we'll see you soon. Bye.